You wake before sunrise to the smell of pine needles and wood smoke. Your simple breakfast of rice gruel and pickled vegetables is eaten in silence while your lord's retainers prepare for the day. It is another Wednesday, which means your lord will be away in the city, attending to his duties at the castle. So it falls to you and your fellow samurai to oversee the peasants who work the fields and workshops of your domain. After breakfast, you change into your working clothes, rougher garments made for labor rather than ceremony. The morning mist has cleared and the humidity of early summer hangs heavy in the air. You set off toward the fields, taking care to walk between the rows of young rice shoots, so as not to damage them. Though they are small, they will soon grow tall and form a leafy barrier between you and the endless horizon. The sound of splashing water follows you as you pass by peasants waist-deep in the paddies, using wooden paddles to keep the mud and weeds at bay. Your own personal domain consists of several rice paddies, vegetable gardens and orchards which surround your house. You run your hand along the smooth bark of a young cherry tree and straighten up as you hear the rhythmic thud of a hammer. At the edge of the village stands a smithy tended by one of your peasant subjects, a wiry old man with soot smudges under his eyes. You have watched him work many times, coaxing red-hot steel into intricate shapes with seemingly effortless control. His hammer rings out again and again, each blow ringing with a clarity that seems to echo the steady pulse of your own blood. After checking on your domains, you return home, stopping to greet an acquaintance, whose face is weathered like an old farmer's. He nods to you and continues on his way. The hierarchy between samurai and peasant is absolute, yet there are times when the formality is shed and faces are softened by the glow of hearth fires. Such moments, though rare, remind you of what it was to be human before the mantle of duty settled upon you. The afternoon sun beats down on the dry thatch of your roof as you sharpen your katana, letting the fine flakes of metal settle around you. There is a quiet satisfaction to honing steel, just as there is something restful in the regular strokes of a calligrapher's brush. You are preparing for a purpose, bringing order to chaos with every stroke. A properly sharpened sword is a thing of beauty. Its edge is so finely honed that it seems almost translucent. You sheathe the blade and wash your hands at the stone basin outside your house. The cool water soothes tired muscles as you contemplate the rest of your evening. Perhaps you will practice with your bow and arrow, or maybe you will sit with your companions and share stories of famous battles long past. The year is 1862, and the isolationist Sakoku period has kept foreign ideas and weapons out of Japan for over 2 centuries. Now that you have bathed and changed into finer garments, you might join the other samurai men in the village for an evening of drinking and conversation. Perhaps someone will bring a shamisen and sing Bodhi songs at the pleasure quarters in the big city. Some of your companions joke and argue loudly, but you feel no desire to join them. You have heard these stories and seen these women only once, years ago. What pleasure they might offer is not worth the risk of losing your honor. For a samurai, nothing is more important than preserving his self-respect and loyalty to his lord. Later, after everyone is gone, you slip out of your house and walk among the graves in the village graveyard. The headstones bear witness to the lives of your fallen comrades and the fleeting nature of existence itself. Some are young, killed in a battle or an accident. Others are old men who have died after long lives of service. Above them, the gnarled branches of ancient trees claw at the night sky. You ponder your own mortality as you trace the faded engravings on a tomb. Your great lord may live on in legend, but even he will die. And when he does, it will fall to you and your fellow samurai to preserve his memory. As the moon climbs higher in the sky, you return home. Your faithful wife greets you at the door, her gentle presence, a welcome respite from the weight of the day. You'll remove your garments, allowing her to smooth the stiff fabric until it falls to the floor in graceful folds. She will mend the tears in your clothes and prepare your favorite meal for dinner. After all, tomorrow you may need your strength. As the rain pours down outside, you huddle close to the paper screen with your family. Tonight, the wind is high, and the flimsy walls of your house do little to block the elements. Lightning flashes outside, briefly illuminating the worried faces of your children. You gather them close, promising to protect them and telling stories of brave samurai from ages past. When the storm finally passes, you look out to see a world washed clean. The mud of the fields has turned to slick, dark earth, and the leaves and branches are heavy with water, making the forest seem darker than usual. Still, you feel renewed as you pull on your hakama and prepare for the coming day. Today we turn our attention to one of the most famous tales of the samurai, that of the 47 Ronin. In the early hours of April 1477, a band of about 300 samurai arrived at the mansion of Kira Yoshinaka in the suburbs of Edo. The lord of the house, a lord-ranking court official, had treated his master, Lord Asano Naganor, with repeated disrespect, culminating in a violent verbal attack. Against the advice of his council, Asano drew his sword and struck Kira a non-lethal wound across the face. Because of the sanctity of the shogun's court, this action constituted a crime against the state. He was swiftly ordered to commit seppuku, or ritual suicide, by the shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu. Although he took his own life, his retainers were left without a master and became known as ronin, meaning wavemen, a term that implies lost and directionless. They spent the next 5 years waiting for their lord's spirit to find peace. During that time, they trained in martial arts, perfecting their skills with the sword and bow. Finally, in 1482, the ronin banded together and launched a surprise nighttime attack on Kira's mansion. Every member of his household was put to death. Kira's head was cut off and presented to Asano's grave as an offering. The shogunate eventually pardoned the ringleaders, granting them noble titles and estates for their valor and commitment to Bushido, the code of the samurai. The story of the 47 Ronin became one of the most popular in Japanese history, serving as the basis for numerous plays, books, films, and TV shows. One such adaptation was Kurosawa's 1958 film, Seven Samurai, which transplants the story of the Ronin to feudal China. Now, we shift to the far north of Japan, to a place where the very forests seem to hum with age. Here, where towering cedars and spruces reach up to pierce the clouds, there existed a secret and deeply moving tradition. For thousands of years, the indigenous Ainu people have lived among these mountains, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the wild. Their traditions are steeped in animism, believing that all things in nature have a spirit, and they live in harmony with the animals around them. Every autumn, they would hold a ceremony to express their gratitude and respect for the bears who shared their land. This was the Ainu bear ceremony, also known as the Iyomante. It was more than just a ritual. It was a profound acknowledgement of the circle of life, death, and rebirth. During the ceremony, the Ainu would release bears they had kept since the previous autumn, sending them back to the wild as a gesture of thanks for their sacrifice. These ceremonies were not merely religious events, but served as a vital part of the Ainu's social structure and cultural identity. They were occasions for reaffirming bonds within the community, settling disputes, and renewing commitments to the land. While sadly, the Ainu people suffered greatly under forced assimilation policies during the 20th century. Their traditional way of life, including the Iowate, continued. Today, the ceremony serves as a powerful symbol of the enduring spirit of the Ainu and their deep connection to the natural world. We find ourselves transported to Edo, the bustling heart of Japan's political and cultural life. Before us stands the grand mansion of a daimyo, a feudal lord of the Tokugawa shogunate. Polished stone pathways wind between meticulously raked gravel gardens, guiding us towards the house. Inside, sliding doors reveal a world of refined elegance. Walls are adorned with beautiful paintings that seem to capture the very essence of nature. A single bonsai tree sits on a low table, its gnarled branches and delicate leaves a testament to the patience and skill of its gardener. A nearby fountain trickles softly, its gentle sound a counterpoint to the carefully composed silence of the room. Suddenly, the tranquility is broken by the arrival of a messenger bearing urgent news from the shogunate. But despite the interruption, the atmosphere remains serene, almost to a point of artificial calm. We sense that beneath this surface of refined composure, currents of political intrigue and ambition are quietly swirling. The message could alter the power dynamics of the court, and the daimyo and his counselors must now weigh their response with utmost care. The slightest misstep could have repercussions that reverberate through the corridors of power. With the implications of the message sinking in, the daimyo begins to strategize, his composed exterior belying the storm of thoughts raging within. He knows that his response will be scrutinized, dissected, and debated. The art of statecraft demands precision, and he must choose his words and actions with the wisdom, born from years of experience and an understanding of the intricate web of alliances and rivalries that govern the world of the samurai. As he ponders his reply, we are left to contemplate the quiet cost of power. where even in the most tranquil of settings, the pursuit of influence and security never truly ceases. The work is methodical, planting each seedling by hand, row after row, under the steady gaze of the sun as it climbs. It is not glamorous, but it is essential. Rice is not just food, it is currency, tax, and the measure of a clan's prosperity. Midday brings a simple meal, perhaps a bowl of millet or barley rice, with pickled vegetables. You eat quietly, seated on your heels, while listening to the soft hum of cicadas in the summer, or the hush of snow in winter. The afternoon is spent on other duties, repairing a neighbor's fence, hauling water from the stream, or patrolling the nearby roads to keep watch for bandits. Each task is small, but each is tied to your identity as a retainer of the clan. As evening falls, you return home. The scent of miso soup drifts from the kitchen, mingling with the woody aroma of the hearth. You unlace your armor and store it carefully, knowing that tomorrow will begin the same way. Before dawn, with the slow and steady rhythm of duty. For those unaccustomed to such a life, the discipline would feel relentless. There is no true day of rest, no casual indulgence, no escape from the weight of obligation. The rhythm is unbroken, the expectations constant, and the rewards measured not in comfort, but in honor. In the year 1600, two clans dominated Japan, the Tokugawa in the east and the Mori in the west. In between them stood the Matsudra, a minor clan whose domain spanned several provinces in central Japan. Though small, the Matsudra were prosperous, in part thanks to the efforts of one man, a skilled administrator named Matsudra Nada. Under his guidance, the clan grew wealthy, so wealthy that the shogun of the Tokugawa clan took notice. And when the shogun's son, Hidetada, embarked on a tour of the eastern provinces, he invited Itada to accompany him, hoping to pick the man's brain on matters of governance. At the shogun's court in Edo, Itada quickly made a favorable impression. When the time came for the lords of the eastern provinces to assemble their armies and pledge fealty to the Tokugawa shogunate, it was Itada whom the shogun chose to lead them. Though he had never commanded an army before, Itada accepted the responsibility. He trained the troops, planned their movements, and led them into battle. His tactics were innovative and effective, and soon he was known throughout the land as a brilliant strategist and a master swordsman. Yet, despite his many accomplishments, there were some who envied Itada's success, particularly the lords of the Mori clan. When Itada returned to his home province after a long absence, he found that his rivals had taken advantage of his absence to seize much of his clan's territory. Enraged, Itada rallied his samurai and prepared to fight back. But before he could take any action, he fell gravely ill and died. With their leader dead, the Matsudra clan was vulnerable. In the years that followed, the Mori clan chipped away at their territory, little by little, until only one small province remained in the hands of the defeated clan. By this point, the Mori lords felt that they had more than made up for the loss of their ancestral lands. And so it seemed that the story of the Matsudra clan was at an end. But what these lords did not know was that they had overlooked one crucial detail. Before he died, Matsudra Itada had taken a young page into his confidence, a bright-eyed boy named Miyamoto Musashi. He had tutored the child in the arts of war and diplomacy, and when Itada fell ill, he had even served as his military proxy, commanding armies in his stead. In secret, Musashi had sworn to avenge the death of his mentor and restore the fortunes of the fallen clan. And so began the story of the 47 Ronin, a tale of loyalty, vengeance, and the unbreakable spirit of the samurai. Join us next time as we continue the story of the 47 Ronin. In the aftermath of the Battle of Sekigahara, the great lords of Japan gathered at Osaka Castle to celebrate the victory. Among them were the four most powerful men in the land, each vying for supremacy. Their names echoed through the ages: Tokugawa, Ieyasu, Ishida, Mitsunari, Date Masuna, and Meidakiji. But all eyes were on Tokugawa Ieyasu, for it was he who had led the victorious army and laid claim to the shogun's throne. The other three may have been eclipsed by Ieyasu's triumph, but their ambitions burned brightly nonetheless. Join us next time as we delve into the tales of these legendary warriors and explore the battles that shaped their destinies. When your drills are complete, you tend to your armor. The lacquered plates are heavy and stiff. The silk cords that bind them in place require constant inspection. Frayed laces could mean disaster if the day ever comes when you must fight in earnest. You work slowly, carefully, your fingers moving in practiced loops and knots. Then it is time for the fields. In a samurai village, warriors are not strangers to farm work. Peaceful years have meant that rice planting and harvest fill the hours between drills. The paddies are wide and still, reflecting the sky in ripples as you wade in. The mud pulls at your feet, cool and thick, and the sharp scent of wet earth rises with every step. The work is methodical, planting each seedling by hand, row after row, under the steady gaze of the sun as it climbs. It is not glamorous, but it is essential. Rice is not just food, it is currency, tax, and the measure of a clan's prosperity. Midday brings a simple meal, perhaps a bowl of millet or barley rice with pickled vegetables. You eat quietly, seated on your heels, while listening to the soft hum of cicadas in the summer, or the hush of snow in winter. As the seasons turn, so does your labor. In spring, it is rice planting. In summer, the long days are filled with the drone of insects and the creak of drying grain. You work from before sunrise to well after the sun dips below the horizon, the rhythmic thrum of the sickle a constant in the gathering dusk. Then autumn arrives, bringing with it the crisp scent of fallen leaves and the hearty taste of new rice wine. There are festivals now, celebrations of the harvest in the coming year. The air is filled with the laughter of children and the strum of shamisen. You raise a wooden cup to the moon, to the kami, and to the health of your lord, and in winter the land grows quiet. The villagers tuck in their homes, huddling around braziers to keep warm in the biting wind. You practice with your katana, its polished surface flashing in the rare sunlight. Dream of the faraway summer and the warmth of the harvest moon. Your life as a samurai is not all warfare and glory. In times of peace, you are a farmer. In times of plenty, you rejoice. But when the rice bins are full, you store some for the lean months and pray for rain. For though your fields are wide and your methods efficient, you are at the mercy of the seasons and the whims of the gods. A late frost can blight your crops. Floods can wash your seedlings away. A typhoon can turn your summer harvest into a soggy mess. Your responsibility weighs on you, but so does the satisfaction. When the harvest is good, you are not merely a retainer, you are a provider. When the rice paddies stretch out before you like a green and gold tapestry, you feel a fierce pride. This land, these crops, they are your domain. To protect them is your duty, your reason for being. When the villagers come to you with their problems, you listen, you mediate, you help. For a samurai is not only a warrior, he is also a leader, a servant of his people. So when the messenger arrives bearing an urgent summons from your lord, it is with mixed feelings that you prepare to leave. Your work in the fields is not done, but duty calls. Tightening the straps of your helmet, you know you will return. The rice will still be waiting, the fields will still be green, and you will be ready. For a true samurai is a man of many skills. A warrior, a farmer, a leader, always ready, always serving. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of burnt umber and deep crimson. In the fading light, you see your home, not just a house, but a symbol of duty, honor, and loyalty. The afternoon has slipped by like the others, mending a neighbor's fence, hauling water from the stream, or patrolling the nearby roads to keep watch for bandits. Each task was small, yet each was tied to your identity as a retainer of the clan. Now, as evening falls, you return home. The scent of miso soup drifts from the kitchen, mingling with the woody aroma of the hearth. The rhythmic crash of the waves provides a soothing backdrop to this tranquil scene. You unlace your armor, each piece stored with meticulous care, knowing that tomorrow will begin the same way, before dawn. For those unaccustomed to such a life, the discipline would feel relentless. There is no true day of rest, no casual indulgence, no escape from the weight of obligation. The rhythm is unbroken, the expectations constant, and the rewards measured not in comfort, but in honor. In the quiet of the evening, after the chores are done and the family has gathered around the low table, you pull out your worn copy of the Tales of Hike. The flickering candlelight dances in your eyes, mirroring the flames that dance in the hearth. Each page you turn whispers of epic battles and heroic deeds, tales of the samurai that have echoed through the ages. The stories are more than just entertainment. They're a reminder of what it means to be a warrior, the virtues to emulate, the pitfalls to avoid. With every word, you're transported to different times and places, standing shoulder to shoulder with legendary warriors. You feel a surge of inspiration, a reminder of why you chose this life, why you dedicated yourself to the ways of the samurai. It's not just about winning battles or amassing power. It's about living a life of honor, duty, and unwavering commitment. In the tapestry of Japanese history, there are few stories as captivating as the saga of the 47 Ronin. Their tale is one of unwavering loyalty, an unflinching commitment to honor, and the courage to defy even the mightiest of odds. But their story didn't begin with swords drawn and battle cries echoing across the land. It started like many others with a sense of duty and a solemn vow. The year was 1862, and feudal Japan was on the brink of a new era. The Tokugawa shogunate, which had ruled the country for over 2 centuries, was crumbling under the weight of internal strife and external pressures. Amidst this turmoil, a young samurai named Sakamoto Ryoma emerged as a beacon of hope for those seeking to restore order and stability to the land. Loyal to the core, his dream was nothing short of unifying Japan under a banner of peace and prosperity. But his path to achieving this lofty goal was fraught with peril, forcing him to forge alliances with some of the most influential and powerful figures of the time. Among them was the enigmatic Ito Hirobumi, a man whose strategic brilliance and unwavering resolve were matched only by his enigmatic nature. Despite their different backgrounds and ideologies, these two visionaries set aside their differences and forged an alliance that would become the cornerstone of Japan's new era. Together, they led a coalition of samurai clans in a bid to overthrow the corrupt and ineffective Tokugawa government and pave the way for a new era of rule. But their journey was far from easy. They faced opposition at every turn, from the entrenched interests of the shogunate to the ambitions of rival clans. Yet through it all, their alliance held firm, proving to be a formidable force that could not be ignored. And then came the moment of truth, the Battle of Toba Minami. The fate of Japan hung in the balance as the Allied forces led by Seigo and Ito clashed with the shogunate's army in a desperate bid to end the conflict once and for all. What followed was a display of tactical brilliance and sheer determination that has become a thing of legend. Against all odds, the Allied forces triumphed, marking a decisive turning point in Japan's history. The corrupt shogunate was brought to its knees, and the stage was set for a new era of leadership. But the story of the 47 Ronin wasn't just about political upheaval. It was also a profound exploration of human nature, a testament to the enduring power of loyalty, honor, and courage. Through their actions, they challenged the very foundations of the samurai code of conduct, forever altering the course of Japanese history and leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of their countrymen. The laws of the shogunate are clear. Any samurai who draws his sword in the court faces banishment, a punishment worse than death for a man like Asano. Born into the warrior class, he has lived his life by the code of Bushido, a code that calls for swift and violent retribution when one's honor is challenged. Yet the law also demands obedience to authority, and Kira, despite his low status, is a higher official than Asano to strike him. Even in anger is a crime against the state. Faced with these implacable laws, Asano knows he cannot remain in Edo. On the stroke of midnight, he and his family slip out of the city in the darkness, abandoning their sumptuous residence and leaving behind all but the clothes on their backs. They flee to the mountains west of Edo, where Asano's wife Chikako grew up. There, in her family's home, they wait out the coming storm. Meanwhile, Shogun Tokugawa Iemitsu has convened an emergency meeting of his court. The disgraced Asano has broken the law and disrupted the peace of Edo. But in the aftermath of such a grave offense, what is to be done? Most voices favor banishment, the standard penalty for drawing one's sword in the shogun's court. But one voice is raised in opposition, that of the council elder Abe Yasutada, who argues that Asano's crime was committed in a moment of passion and that his punishment should be more lenient. Perhaps, he suggests, the disgraced lord could be sent to distant Lord Matsudera's domain as a low-ranking vassal. If anyone can tame the hot-headed Asano, it is the stern and unforgiving Matsudera. The shogun agrees, and the order is sent for Asano's arrest. When the head of the family receives this news, he is horrified. To go to the house of a rival clan as a supplicant would be to admit defeat. But before he can act, it is too late. Soldiers arrive from Edo to escort him and his family away. During the journey, Asano makes every effort to disguise himself and avoid detection. But once they reach Lord Matsudera's domain, his cover is blown and he is dragged before the stern magistrate. All pleas for mercy are in vain. The magistrate is a man without pity, and Asano is stripped of his noble garments, shackled and locked in a dark cell. In the stifling darkness, Asano's mind races. How can he escape this fate? The answer, he decides, lies in Edo. If he can somehow get back to the city, he might be able to negotiate a pardon directly with the shogun. Just as he is about to make his move, however, he is visited by a guard who brings him food and a scroll. The guard tells him to read the scroll and then eat the provided food. Only after both have been consumed may he leave his cell. Suspecting a plot to poison him, Asano rips open the scroll and finds it to be blank. Furious, he throws it aside and does not touch the food. But as the hours pass and his stomach growls, hunger begins to get the better of him. Finally, as dawn approaches, he gives in and eats the food without further ado. And so it is that Asano is tricked and begins his journey toward his new home. He is still dressed in his coarse prison garb, a far cry from the finery of a daimyo. In fact, from a distance, he might be mistaken for one of the peasant farmers toiling in the fields. Such humble garb proves to be the disguise Asano needs. While traveling along a riverbank, he encounters a band of outlaws. Mistaking him for an easy target, they demand his meager possessions. But Asano, who has spent his whole life among the privileged class, has no money or valuables to give them. As they reach for his straw sandal, a piece of cloth wrapped around his foot falls out. Startled by what they think is a precious pearl, the outlaws tear Asano's sandal to pieces, but they do not find any treasure. Not knowing that they have just robbed a lord, they run off into the forest. Thus robbed and barefoot, Asano continues his journey until he comes across a house. He asks for water and a bit of food, and when the family inside offers him some rice gruel, he accepts gratefully. In truth, he is too weak to continue walking and must stay the night. Luckily, the family is kind and takes him in. However, since they only have a single room, the travelers sharing the space wake up several times throughout the night. When one of them coughs, the others start coughing as well. One wakes up and sees another thief. Thinking quickly, Asano grabs the other traveler's pillow and covers his face with it. When the third person stirs, Asano does the same to the first person, and they end up killing each other. Having thus disposed of his traveling companions, Asano is free to make his way to Edo. Disguised as a beggar, he wanders the city's streets until he comes upon a temple. There he meets a Buddhist monk named Gonosuke, who takes him in and allows him to sleep in the temple's storehouse. Because of his disguise, no one recognizes the disgraced lord. And so Asano remains in Edo undetected, biding his time until he can find a way to win back his honor. In history, there's nothing more satisfying than a good revenge tale. And few revenge tales are better than that of the 47 Ronin. Today, let's dive into this tale, beginning with its disgraced hero, Asano Naganori. Asano was a low-ranking samurai who attended the court of the shogun in Edo, Japan, where he caught the eye of Kira Yoshinaka, a high-ranking but low-life courtier, known for his exquisite taste in luxury items, especially women. Kira took Asano under his wing, introducing him to the finer things in life and manipulating him into heavy gambling. Asano, desperate to keep up appearances, found himself in debt, forcing him to borrow money from Kira at exorbitant interest rates. Though Asano won a few games, eventually pushing Kira into bankruptcy, the damage was done. He was in too deep. So when Kira demanded repayment, Asano refused, stating he was busy with a mission from the shogun. Enraged, Kira insulted Asano's wife and committed a severe breach of etiquette by drawing his sword. According to some accounts, Asano survived this encounter, but only barely. Now enraged, Asano sought to defend his honor by killing Kira, except the shogun stepped in, forbidding it. And punishing Asano instead, stripping him of his rank and ordering him to commit seppuku, the ritual taking of one's own life that evening. His lands were confiscated, his family stripped of status, and his head gardener put to death. Overnight, his loyal retainers became masterless samurai, Ronin, which literally means wave man. A term that evokes the image of a masterless samurai without a lord to serve, adrift in a world of uncertainty. What happened next depended on the individual. Some chose to drift away, seeking work as guards or teachers. But 47 of them, led by Jishi Kuranosuke, decided to stick together and take revenge. This band of Ronin swore an oath on their lord's grave. They would avenge Asano's death, even though the law forbade such revenge. Not only was the direct killing of an aristocrat forbidden, so was any form of retaliation. Against the ruling class, the law was designed to maintain order and prevent the kind of chaos that might result from a populace that took the law into its own hands. However, the laws couldn't account for every situation. And this wasn't just any crime, it was an attack on honor. And according to Bushido, the way of the samurai, avenging one's lord was not only permitted, it was required. For nearly 2 years, the 47 Ronin waited, living in disguise, sometimes as merchants, other times as laborers, a few as drunkards to throw off suspicion. All the while, they honed their skills, training together in the arts of stealth and combat. They also gathered intelligence on their target, watching Kira's house day and night. The Ronin knew they would need to strike quickly and decisively if they were to succeed. Then, on the night of December 14th, 1702, they made their move. A heavy snow blanketed the city of Kyoto, making it difficult for anyone to venture out. But the Ronin were prepared. Moving quietly through the sleeping streets, they surrounded Kira's residence. Their footsteps crunching on the snow were the only sound that broke the silence. They scaled the tall wooden walls of the residence using long bamboo ladders. The only light came from the faint glow of the paper lanterns hanging from the eaves. Inside, Kira slept soundly, unaware of the danger that lurked outside. Suddenly, one of the Ronin creaked a floorboard. Kira awoke with a start and cried out for his guards, but it was too late. The Ronin had already entered his bedroom and surrounded his bed. With swords drawn, they gave Kira no time to react. One of them shouted, "It is I, Asano's retainer. You have been killed by my sword." And with that, they cut off Kira's head. When the deed is done, the Ronin do not flee. They march through the city in the pale light of dawn, bearing Kira's head to Asano's grave, where they lay it as an offering. Their mission complete, they surrender themselves to the authorities. The shogun faces a dilemma. The law is clear. Murder is a crime. Yet the people see these men as paragons of loyalty and courage. In the end, they are ordered to die by seppuku, a sentence they accept without protest. Their graves lie together at Sengakuji Temple in Tokyo, where even today visitors leave incense and flowers. The air there is quiet, touched with the scent of pine and stone warmed by the sun. The story of the 47 Ronin is told not with the clash of swords, but with the soft, enduring rhythm of remembrance, a reminder that in the samurai world, duty could extend beyond life itself. And as we leave the snow-covered streets of Edo, we turn our attention further north, to a land older than the samurai. S-Rule, where the Anu people kept a ceremony unlike any other honoring an animal they saw as a messenger from the divine. It's me. Welcome to Edo. Right now, the city is quiet. Snow falls on empty streets, blanketing the rooftops in white. Soon, though, this stillness will be replaced by the bustle of merchants and the flash of samurai armor. You can almost hear the crunch of their geta sandals on the wooden walkways. But let's step into this world a little more deeply. Let's take a walk down a narrow lane, the kind of place where ordinary folk like carpenters and farmers might live. We'll pass shops with hanging lanterns, the red paper casting dancing shadows on the walls. Maybe we'll stop for a cup of tea at a tiny inn. Steam will warm our hands, and the taste of matcha will linger on our tongues like a whispered secret. We can also step into the grand palaces of the shoguns, where silk curtains are drawn back to reveal courtly gardens. Or we can stroll through the peaceful grounds of a temple, the scent of incense mingling with the whisper of prayers. With each step, you feel the pulse of this historic city. It's a place where the old ways meet the new, where tradition and change dance in harmony. But just beyond the city walls, a different story unfolds. There, in the heart of the wild, untamed wilderness, lived the Inu people. Their lives were a world away from the bustling streets of Edo. Instead of woodblock prints, they created intricate tattoos on their bodies. Instead of silk, they wore warm furs. And instead of the tea ceremony, they had a unique and powerful custom, the bear ceremony. It was a celebration, a farewell, and a promise. The Ainu people believed that bears were messengers from the gods, bringing wisdom and strength. They would capture a bear, not to harm it, but to honor it. Then, in a sacred ceremony, they would tattoo the bear, adorning its body with intricate designs. After the bear was released back into the wild, this wasn't just a show of respect. It was a deep spiritual connection. The Ainu saw bears as teachers, as beings that could help them live in harmony with the natural world. This ceremony was a way of saying thank you and goodbye, acknowledging the bear's sacrifice and seeking its guidance. Today, the bear ceremony is a reminder of a simpler time, a time when the bond between humans and nature was even stronger than it is now. It's a testament to the Ainu people as deep respect for all living things, and a reminder that even in the most challenging of circumstances, we should never lose sight of our humanity. The snow continues to fall in Edo, covering the city in a blanket of white, muffling the sounds of the bustling streets below. The wind whispers tales of the city's rich history, carrying with it the echoes of laughter, the rumble of trade, and the clash of swords. Above, the paper lanterns cast dancing shadows on the ground, creating a mesmerizing display of light and dark. The steam from the tea houses mingles with the smoke from the chimneys, rising like silent prayers to the heavens. It's a city frozen in time, a snapshot of a bygone era, a moment of perfect stillness before the awakening begins anew. There's something deeply moving about witnessing a culture that has such respect for nature. Today we're going to travel to a place where humans live in harmony with animals. Far to the north of Edo, beyond the rolling green hills of Honshu, lies the island of Hokkaido. Here the winters are longer, the forests darker, and the mountains rise like silent guardians above the plains. This was the homeland of the Ainu people, an indigenous culture distinct from the Japanese, with their own language, traditions, and beliefs. They lived in harmony with the animals around them, but none commanded the reverence that the bear did. To the Ainu, the bear was more than just a creature of the forest. It was a messenger from the world of the gods, a symbol of strength, wisdom, and the untamed wilderness. The most important expression of this reverence was the Ayomante, the bear ceremony. It began long before the day itself, in the quiet of winter, when a bear cub was taken into the village. Now this might sound surprising, but the Ainu didn't capture the cub in the human sense of the word. They saw themselves as hosts, welcoming an honored guest. For them, the bear was a divine spirit in animal form, a tangible link between the human world and the spiritual realm. The villagers treated the cub with the utmost respect, almost as if it were royalty. They understood that they weren't just caring for a young bear, they were nurturing a fragment of the divine. As spring approached, the bear would leave the confines of the village and roam the forest, always accompanied by an Ainu warrior. This wasn't just a leisurely stroll through the woods. It was a sacred journey, a dance between humanity and the wilderness. The warrior would protect the bear, ensuring its safety while also paying homage to its wild spirit. When the time came for the bear to return to the village, it was met with joyous celebration. The villagers would don their finest clothes, decorate their homes, and prepare for the most important event of their year, the Ayomante. The day of the bear festival was a spectacle of color, music, and dance. The entire village came together to honor the bear and pay tribute to the natural world. Women would perform the Iomante, a traditional dance that symbolized the bear's journey from the forest to the village. As the dance reached its climax, the bear would be led into a large communal space at the center of the village. Here, under a specially constructed platform, a feast was laid out, not just for the bear, but for the spirits that were believed to reside within it. The offerings consisted of fish, meat, rice, and sake, all placed on a golden platter. It was a banquet fit for royalty, or perhaps more appropriately, for the divine messengers from the spirit world. But the bear festival was more than just a celebration. It was also a ritual of transformation. The bear, after all, was seen as a link between the human and the divine, and the festival's rituals were designed to facilitate communication with the spirit world. As the bear consumed the offerings, the villagers would chant and pray, asking the bear to carry their wishes and pleas to the gods. It was a humbling experience, a reminder of the Anu people's place within the natural order of the universe. They were not separate from the animals or the spirits, but rather an integral part of the whole. In the heart of Hokkaido, amidst snow-covered mountains and ancient forests, the Bear Festival continued for generations. It was a testament to the enduring power of nature and the profound respect that the Anu people had for the natural world. Even as the centuries passed and the world around them changed, the Anu held fast to their traditions, ensuring that the message would continue to be carried to the gods through the heart of the bear. For months, the bear was cared for. Women of the village would feed it by hand, often with bowls of millet or fish broth, and children would play nearby, growing accustomed to its presence. The enclosure was simple, a wooden pen near the houses, so the bear could see and hear the life of the community. When the time came, usually in the early spring, the ceremony unfolded with careful ritual. The air might still carry a crisp edge, the snow receding in small, glistening patches. Villagers gathered in traditional garments, robes of woven elm bark, patterned with white spiral motifs, their breath rising in soft clouds. Offerings were made, food, sake, and prayers spoken in the Innu tongue. The bear's spirit, they believed, would return to the realm of the gods, bearing messages of gratitude from the human world. Songs rose in low, steady tones, accompanied by the beat of wooden clappers. The rhythm was unhurried, almost hypnotic, a pulse that seemed to merge with the sigh of wind through the cedar trees. The bear, its fur thick and glossy, its eyes dark and intelligent, stood patiently in the center of the clearing. It had been with the villagers for what felt like a lifetime, yet its origins remained a mystery. Some whispered it had emerged from the forest, a lost cub too young to survive on its own. Others claimed it had tumbled from the sky, a creature of pure white fur and celestial wisdom. Regardless of its beginnings, the bear was a part of their lives now, and when the time came for it to depart, the ceremony was one of reverence and quiet sorrow. It began before dawn, when the first rays of sunlight touched the snow-kissed peaks in the distance. The villagers, dressed in their finest garments, made their way to the clearing. Their faces, weathered by the harsh winters and gentle summers of their mountain home, were etched with a deep respect. The men, their bodies strong and agile, moved with a quiet grace, while the women, their steps lighter, seemed to float over the frosted ground. Children, their eyes wide with wonder and a touch of fear, held tightly to their parents' hands, forming a protective circle around the bear. The clearing itself was a place of both celebration and solitude. In the center, a sturdy wooden platform had been erected, adorned with intricate carvings of bears and dragons. Around it, a circle of stone's monoliths stood as silent sentinels, their rough surfaces smoothed by countless seasons. On the platform, an offering of food and sake awaited the bear. Each item was carefully placed, a testament to the bond the villagers had formed with the animal. As the sun ascended higher, casting long shadows from the surrounding trees, the head shaman stepped forward. His face, a map of wrinkles, spoke of years spent in communion with the spirits. With a voice that resonated with power and gentleness, he addressed the bear, acknowledging its presence and thanking it for sharing its life with the community. The shaman's words echoed the sentiments of all present, a mixture of gratitude, respect, and a hint of sadness. In response, the bear let out a deep rumble, a sound that seemed to emanate from the earth itself. It was a sound of acknowledgement, of understanding, and perhaps even a farewell. As the ceremony continued, the villagers sang ancient songs, their voices weaving together in harmonies that spoke of the bear-esque journey and their own connection to the natural world. Each note carried a layer of meaning, a thread of emotion that bound the community together in a tapestry of shared experience. But it was the departure that left the most profound impression. When the bear, its paws silent on the frosted ground, approached the edge of the clearing, the villagers parted to let it pass. As it walked among them, their hands outstretched, it seemed to carry the essence of their hopes, dreams, and fears. The bear, in its own silent way, acknowledged each person, its gaze steady and unwavering. It was a moment of intense emotion, of letting go and embracing the unknown. And as the bear disappeared into the trees, the villagers knew that a part of them had also ventured into the wilderness apart. that would forever be connected to the spirit of the mountains and the wisdom of the ancient gods. When you visit Hokkaido today, you'll find a region transformed. Skyscrapers pierce the clouds in Sapporo, the capital, and the bullet train from Tokyo arrives there in just over 2 hours. But 300 years ago, Hokkaido was a very different place. It was here in this remote northern province that the Ainu people practiced their ancient rites. Far from the prying eyes of the outside world, and yet that's exactly where we find ourselves at the start of this new episode. Having traveled back in time to 17th century Hokkaido, as we follow Hiro, the young samurai traveling with his master Tadataka to the village of Iomonte, home of the great shaman Yomante. Now, to outsiders, the ceremony we see could seem like a strange and even paradoxical affair. On the one hand, it's a ceremony of farewell. The samurai are preparing to leave and take their master back to Edo. But on the other hand, it's an intensely respectful and reverent occasion, and these two aspects don't easily reconcile themselves. But to the Ainu, this scene made perfect sense. For them, this was a vital exchange between the realm of the living and the spirit world. By giving thanks to the spirits of the land for their safe passage through it, they renewed their bond with both the physical world around them and the divine forces that animated it. This ceremony was not just about saying goodbye to the spirits of the land. It was also about reaffirming the relationship between the Ainu people, the samurai, and the gods. It was a way of ensuring the continued fertility of the land, the prosperity of the village, and the protection of those who lived there. After the ceremony, life in the village went on as before. The Ainu men fished the rivers for salmon, hunted deer in the forests, and tended their small fields of millet and beans. But the memory of the Iomonte lingered in the air, like the scent of cedar smoke and earth after rain. A reminder that even in the warrior age of the samurai, there were older rhythms still. Patterns of life and belief rooted not in politics or battle, but in the long, quiet dialogue between humans and the natural world. But now, as we leave the cedar groves and river valleys of Hokkaido, we return to the heart of Edo, period Japan. Here in the lowlands, the political and economic power of the samurai was most evident. The domain or han of our tale lay nestled in the fertile plains of what is today's central Japan. It was here in this domain that Hiro would have received much of his samurai training. For while Bushido, the way of the warrior, was born in the crucible of war, its essence could be cultivated in times of peace as well. In fact, one of the most important skills a samurai could master was the art of doing nothing, of sitting in quiet contemplation and honing one's inner self. But how does one practice such an art? What did it look like in the daily life of a samurai? To get to the bottom of this, let's do as Hiro did and pay a visit to the local dojo. Here, amidst the scent of sawdust and sweat, Hiro observed the forms, the kata, of the most famous school of swordsmanship. It might seem odd to think of swordplay as a graceful, refined activity, but in the quiet of the dojo, stripped of its life or death context, the art of the sword becomes something akin to a dance. In fact, the movements of the katate were said to resemble those of a bird taking flight. Hence the name yukusinchu, which literally means beginning of the bird's flight. The forms of the katana are fluid and dynamic, requiring not just strength and speed, but also balance, coordination, and a kind of inner calm that can only come from years of dedicated practice. To master the forms is one thing, but to infuse them with true power is quite another. The samurai knew this, and so they turned the forms into an exercise in Zen meditation. By repeating the movements over and over again, the samurai could clear his mind of distractions and focus on the task at hand. It was an exercise in discipline, concentration, and self-mastery. In effect, the katana became a kind of mirror, reflecting back to the samurai his inner state of being. Only by achieving perfect inner harmony could the samurai hope to achieve mastery of the blade. But the dojo was just one place where the samurai could cultivate the qualities of Bushido. In the gardens of the daimyo's mansion, he could practice the art of walking. In the tea room, the art of quiet contemplation. And in the stables, the art of horsemanship. For the samurai, every aspect of life could become a path to self-improvement. Every task, no matter how humble, was an opportunity to hone the mind and body, to cultivate the virtues of courage, benevolence, righteousness, and above all, self-control. Join us next time as we continue to explore the world of the samurai. See you next time. In the heart of Edo, now known as Tokyo, stood the residences of the daimyo, the great lords of Japan's feudal domains. These were not merely homes, but statements of power and prestige, each designed to reflect the wealth and standing of the clan it represented. Today we will step back in time and explore one of these magnificent mansions to see how the Japanese feudal lords lived. Keep in mind that this was long before the arrival of Western ideas about personal space and privacy. So be prepared for some interesting spatial relationships as we make our way through the rooms and gardens of this great house. Approaching such a mansion, you would first walk along a quiet street where the walls stretched unbroken for many paces. At the main gate, samurai guards stood watch in formal attire, their hands resting lightly on the hilts of their swords. Passing through, the sounds of the city faded away, placed by the gentle trickle of water from a garden stream and the soft rustle of leaves. The entranceway opened into a series of courtyards, each connected by covered walkways of polished cedar. In the inner gardens, carefully placed stones formed pathways across raked gravel. Small pines were pruned into graceful shapes, their green needles vivid against the pale sand. A pond mirrored the sky, with a single wooden bridge arching over it, and koi fish moving just below the surface in slow, deliberate patterns. To the side of the entrance stood a two-story building, connected to the main house by a covered walkway. This was the guest wing, reserved for visitors of importance. Each room was designed to accommodate a single guest, allowing them the comfort and privacy they would need while staying in the household. Upstairs, tatami mats covered the floors, low tables and chairs made of wood or lacquered bamboo. Delicate scrolls hung on sliding doors, depicting peaceful landscapes or elegant plants and flowers. Incense burners sat on small stands, filling the rooms with a light, pleasant fragrance. The main house was entered through a large gate made of heavy wood and decorated with intricate carvings. It was divided into two sections, one for the women of the household and one for the men. Both were separated by a wall, though there were multiple entrances between them, allowing people and objects to move freely from one area to the other. The women's side was where the main rooms of the house were located, each serving a different purpose. In the center was the reception room where guests were welcomed and offered tea. The walls were covered with sliding doors which could be opened to allow everyone to mingle freely. On special occasions, the doors would be decorated with paintings or screens to add beauty to the room. Opposite the reception room was the dining room, a place where family members would gather to eat their meals together and discuss the events of the day. The food would be served on beautiful ceramic plates and bowls, often with designs painted on them. There were no chairs, but rather cushions placed on the floor to sit on. Some rooms were used for more private activities like writing or reading. These rooms were smaller than the others and had shelves filled with books and scrolls. In some cases, there might even be a small desk and chair for added convenience. Other rooms were used for storage, containing chests and cabinets filled with clothes, jewelry, and other valuables. Some rooms were set aside for religious practices, housing altars and statues dedicated to various gods and ancestors. These rooms were often very peaceful and quiet, allowing those who prayed there to focus on their spiritual side. Certain rooms were also used for arts and crafts, like flower arranging or calligraphy. These rooms were usually filled with beautiful materials and tools for creating art. Sometimes the women of the household would hold parties or gatherings in these rooms, inviting other women from around the city to join them. They would work on their crafts together and socialize at the same time. Overall, the women's side of the house was designed to be a place of peace and beauty, reflecting the values of traditional Japanese culture. Moving to the other side of the house, we entered the domain of the men. This section of the house was much simpler and more functional, lacking the decoration and tranquility found in the women's quarters. Here we can find rooms used for administrative tasks, housing desks, and shelves for important documents. These rooms were often filled with the sounds of activity as samurai and clerks worked diligently to keep the household running smoothly. Separate rooms were also set aside for weapon storage, containing a variety of swords, spears, and other implements of war. Some rooms were used for martial arts training, allowing the samurai to practice their skills in a safe and controlled environment. In the center of the men's quarters was the exercise yard, an open space surrounded by high walls. Here the samurai could practice sword drills and other martial arts. without worrying about damaging the delicate surroundings of the women's quarters. The yard also served as a place for the samurai to relax and socialize, taking breaks between their rigorous training sessions to chat with their comrades and plan their next moves. Overall, the men's side of the house was a place of practicality and action, reflecting the duties and responsibilities of the samurai class. In the heart of Japan's ancient domain, nestled amidst meticulously manicured gardens, stood a sprawling mansion. Its grandeur was a testament to generations of power and prestige. The air inside was faintly scented with tatami, the straw mats covering the floors, and the woody aroma of cedar beams. Through sliding paper doors, one could glimpse misty mountains, flowing rivers and the delicate outline of plum blossoms, a tranquil landscape that invited serenity and contemplation. Rooms were divided by sliding paper doors painted with landscapes, misty mountains, flowing rivers, and the delicate outline of plum blossoms. Each space unfolded into the next in a harmonious flow, guiding visitors through a serene journey. Sunlight streamed through paper windows, casting soft shadows that danced on the tatami mats. The interior was a symphony of simplicity and elegance. Every object had its place, reflecting the disciplined aesthetic of Zen gardens. A scroll with elegant calligraphy hung on the wall, its brushstrokes whispering tales of ancient wisdom. In another room, a single flower, perhaps a chrysanthemum or a plum blossom, was placed in a ceramic vase, its presence grounding and meditative. On a low table, a lacquered box rested, its intricate design mirroring the patterns of the sliding doors. Each item, no matter how insignificant it seemed, was carefully chosen and precisely positioned, contributing to the overall harmony of the space. The life of the daimyo and his family moved to a measured rhythm, a tradition that had been passed down through generations. Mornings might begin with audiences. Retainers clad in dark, somber garments knelt in formal rows before the daimyo, presenting reports, petitions, or messages from the home province. Their voices echoed in the vast hall, their words carefully measured as they conveyed vital information to their lord. The daimyo sat in quiet authority, his presence commanding attention, yet his demeanor was calm and composed. He listened without haste, his expression betraying nothing, and when he spoke, his voice was steady and clear, giving instructions that would shape the day's activities. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the tempo of life within the mansion quickened slightly. Servants moved through the corridors, their steps soft and silent on the tatami mats, carrying out their myriad tasks to keep the household running smoothly. The scent of incense mingled with the earthy fragrance of flowers, creating an atmosphere of tranquility and refinement. And then there were the meals. Served on lacquer trays, small dishes holding fresh fish, pickled vegetables, bowls of rice and seasonal delicacies such as chestnuts in autumn or bamboo shoots in spring. The presentation was as important as the taste. Colors were arranged to please the eye, textures balanced for harmony. Each dish was not just food, it was a small work of art, a reflection of the natural beauty that surrounded the mansion both in its gardens and in the carefully chosen placement of every object within its walls. The mansion was more than just a residence. It was a microcosm of the natural world, a place where the rhythms of the seasons were felt in every detail, from the sliding doors to the arrangement of flowers. It was a testament to the enduring appeal of simplicity, balance, and harmony, a legacy that continued to inspire centuries later. If you think you know what a Japanese garden is, then think again. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to take a journey back in time to uncover the secrets of a hidden garden. Picture yourself in the heart of Japan during the turbulent yet elegant era of the samurai. You find yourself in a bustling city, the seat of a powerful daimyo, a feudal lord whose influence resonates throughout the land. His mansion, a sprawling complex of wooden structures, is not just a home, but a microcosm of the society it was built to impress. And at its center, nestled amidst carefully raked gravel and manicured hedges, is a garden. But this is no ordinary garden. It's a testament to the values and power of its creator, a living piece of art that tells the story of its time. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, the heat shimmers off the tiled roofs of the mansion. Inside a small, secluded room, a tea ceremony is about to begin. Every action is precise, every movement purposeful. The cloth is folded in a specific way, the tea whisked with focused strokes, all following an order unchanged for centuries. It's a moment of tranquility, a pause in the relentless march of the samurai's life. But even here, in this quiet ritual, there is an undercurrent of politics. Every visitor, every exchange, every pour of tea is a chance to build alliances, to negotiate terms, to reaffirm bonds that could change the balance of power. The room itself, with its simple yet elegant decor, is a reflection of Zen Buddhist principles, a visual reminder of the importance of harmony and balance in both art and life. As the tea ceremony ends, the sound of laughter and conversation drifts out into the garden, mingling with the gentle murmur of a nearby waterfall. Outside, the beauty of the landscape unfolds in a series of carefully designed scenes. A pond reflects the sky, broken only by the image of a lonely boat. Moss-covered stones stand like silent sentinels, each with its own story. The path ahead is a study in contrasts, the rough texture of gravel set against the smooth curves of a nearby bush. As the day progresses, the light changes, casting long shadows that dance and shift like the play of a second hand. But for all its tranquility, this garden is not an escape from the world, but rather an integral part of it. It's a place where alliances are forged, where rivalries are kept in check, where power is subtly displayed and received. For a samurai, this garden is more than just a scenic retreat. It's a place of duty, of meditation, and of strategy. Here amidst the flowers and trees, plans are made, decisions are contemplated. In the very essence of Bushido, the way of the samurai is embodied. Now, as the sun begins its slow descent, the scene shifts once more. Lanterns are lit, casting a warm glow along the covered walkways. The sound of the city, with its street vendors and distant tradesmen, fades in. Through the walls within the mansion, the daimyo and his household settle in for the evening. Rooms are warmed by brazier fires, their dancing flames casting flickering shadows on the tatami mats. The day's business is done, the visitors have departed, and the garden outside rests in the soft glow of the moon. Here, in this intimate setting, the trappings of power are shed. The daimyo is no longer the unassailable lord, but a host ready to entertain. His retainers, once stoic and watchful, relax, sharing stories and laughter around the hearth. In this moment of respite, the rigid hierarchy of samurai society is softened, replaced by the warmth of camaraderie and the comfort of shared stories. And so, as the night deepens and the stars begin to gleam in the inky sky, the scene at the mansion is one of quiet contentment. The garden now lost in the embrace of darkness, dreams beneath the moon, its role in the day now done. For the time being, until the next dawn breaks and the cycle begins anew. Welcome to this, the final episode of our journey through the world of the samurai. As our journey through the world of the samurai draws to a close, the sounds of distant drums and the rustle of silk fade into memory. We have walked the muddy lanes of a rural village at dawn, felt the weight of armor across your shoulders, and shared in the slow rhythm of planting and harvest. You have witnessed the long patience of the 47 Ronin, their quiet determination carried through bitter winters and years of waiting. You have stood among the Inu, watching the rising breath of a bear in the cold air of the northern forests, and glimpsed a ceremony that speaks to a bond between people and nature older than written history. You have stepped inside the walls of an Edo mansion, where every brushstroke on a folding screen, every measured step in a tea ceremony, was part of an unspoken conversation about loyalty, honor, and place. All of these moments, the rough and the refined, the patient and the swift, were threads in the same tapestry. They belonged to a time when the individual's life was woven into the duties of clan and community, where each day carried the weight of tradition and where time itself seemed to move in cycles as steady as the turning seasons. But just as the finest tapestry eventually fades, so too did the age of samurai come to a close. The last stronghold of the warrior class fell in 1877 with the defeat of the Satsuma Rebellion. By the end of that century, the samurai, once masters of Japan, were gone. And yet their story is far from over. For though they may be gone, their story still endures. In museums and in books and films and in poems, the story of the samurai continues to be told and retold. That's because the lessons they offer are timeless. The samurai were men and women who sought excellence in all things, who understood the importance of duty and honor, and who knew that true strength comes not from power or prestige, but from within. Their story is a reminder that even in a world that seems to be spinning faster than ever, we can all find strength and wisdom in the timeless teachings of the samurai. Throughout this series, we've had the privilege of meeting some truly remarkable people who have dedicated their lives to keeping the legacy of the samurai alive. We met master swordsman in katana Polonio, Takeshi Ishizaki, who taught us about the deep meaning behind each stroke of his blade. We sat down with tea master Hozumi Shigeru to learn about the centuries-old art of Japanese tea ceremony, and we marveled at the intricate beauty of kintsugi, the ancient art of repairing broken pottery, practiced by master craftsman Hiroko Kadota. Each of these individuals has a deep respect for the history and tradition of their craft and a passion for sharing it with others. As we wrap up our journey through the world of the samurai, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to all of our viewers. Your support has made it possible for us to bring these stories to life and share them with the world. If you're still with us, we invite you to continue exploring the world of samurai beyond this series. There are countless books, films, and documentaries that can teach you more about their fascinating history and way of life. But don't stop there. We encourage you to put what you've learned into practice in your own life. The samurai taught us that true strength comes from within. So start by cultivating your mind and spirit. Learn to control your emotions and cultivate inner peace. The samurai also taught us the importance of discipline and hard work. By practicing self-discipline and pursuing excellence in your own life, you can become a better version of yourself. Finally, remember that the samurai were not just warriors, but also artists, poets, and scholars. Don't limit yourself to one way of thinking or being. Embrace the beauty and complexity of the world around you and strive to make it a better place. Thank you for joining us on this journey. May you find strength, wisdom, and peace in the timeless teachings of the samurai. The air is still warm from the day, but the light has begun to fade. Shadows stretch long fingers across the dojo floor, twisting and turning, taking on a life of their own. Sit quietly, letting the silence settle around you, letting the day's activities drift away like smoke. The events of the last few hours feel like a dream. The crisp jangle of sword on wood, the low murmurs of instruction, the quick, sharp commands barked by your sensei. All of it fades into the background like a half-remembered melody. The samurai age rests quietly in the pages of history. The sword drills no longer ring through the morning air. The watchtowers stand empty, their beams weathered by centuries. The gardens still bloom, though their keepers no longer bow to a daimyo. What remains is the memory, not just of battles and codes, but of the soft sounds of daily life. The splash of water from a bamboo pipe, the slow crackle of a brazier's coals, the rustle of wind through the pines. You rise slowly, stretching tired muscles, feeling the satisfying pop of tendons and sinews releasing. Each movement is deliberate, each breath a conscious act. You move with the grace and precision of a dancer, your body a finely tuned instrument. But this is no dance. This is the art of the samurai, the way of the warrior. It's in your blood now, a second nature. As you walk, the fading light paints long shadows before you. You walk past the weathered stone lantern, its flame a flickering orange in the gathering dusk. You remember the stories your sensei told you about the importance of the lantern, how it symbolized the light of enlightenment, how it guided the lost and weary. You pause for a moment, letting the warmth of the flame wash over you, letting the scent of burning incense fill your nostrils. It's a small thing, but in this moment, it's everything. You continue on, leaving the dojo behind, its high walls and watchful gargoyles receding into the darkness. The streets are narrow and winding, lined with shops and houses that seem to huddle close together for comfort. The townspeople hurry by, their faces obscured by the shadows of their wide-brimmed hats. They don't see you. You are a ghost, a whisper, a memory. You find an open-air stall, its wares spilling out onto the wooden floor. Lacquered boxes, hand-rolled scrolls, fans and chopsticks. The merchant looks up from his work, his face creased with age and wisdom. He doesn't speak, but his eyes do. They tell the story of a life lived, of lessons learned, of battles fought and won. You nod in greeting, understanding that some bonds transcend words. The night is quiet, the air is calm, and history is resting. As you walk, the sounds of the city fade away, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the distant cry of a night bird. The moon is a silver coin tossed into the inky expanse of the sky, and the stars are diamonds scattered carelessly on velvet. You are alone, yet you feel a strange sense of peace. The worries and distractions of your life seem trivial and far away. Here, in this moment, there is only the path beneath your feet and the endless sky above. And then, just when you think the solitude might become overwhelming, you remember the words of your sensei, the quiet strength that comes from within, the unwavering focus that cuts through distractions, the relentless pursuit of self-improvement. You smile faintly, a single candle flickering in the darkness, and you keep walking. You reach a small clearing and stop to catch your breath. The trees form a natural amphitheater around you. You feel as though you are being watched, not in a creepy way, but in a way that makes you want to be your best self, to live up to the expectations of those who came before you. You close your eyes, letting the sounds of the forest envelop you, letting the scent of pine needles and damp earth fill your lungs. You are present, truly present, and in that moment, you know that you are exactly where you need to be. As the night deepens, so does your resolve. You're ready to face whatever challenges come your way, knowing that you have something special, a way of life that has stood the test of time. You are a samurai, and your journey has just begun.